The subculture net, the shift of subcultures from the street to the internet. Within the field of subcultural studies, many aspects have been researched. However, we are reaching a stage where an important step must be taken. The internet now plays a significant role in the lives of all people of Western society. Even those without access to the internet themselves require it in their everyday lives. Many large companies will no longer send out paper bills, and to sign up to many services, such as mobile phone plans, we are required to have an email account. It seems only natural in this case that groups would begin to form on the internet that have coherent aspects within the culture. It is a different phenomenon, however, when a group of youths who have already identified themselves with a subculture in the street then move onto the internet to find comfort and coherence when a subculture has diffused. The research of internet subcultures is nothing new. It has been covered before in relation to subcultures such as computer hackers, but an aspect of the research is now missing. Subcultures who are formed on the street are turning to the internet for what I argue is the survival of the subculture. It is this that must be researched. It is my aim through my PhD to look into the world of emos and discover the role that the internet has played in their lives, and whether it is being used for the survival of the subculture. I will do this by interviewing a minimum of 60 participants who identify themselves as emo within subculturally specific chat rooms. It is my argument that studies that involve subcultures now need to incorporate the internet to be able to understand the subculture as a whole. Subcultures have been studied since the 1950s, with schools such as the Birmingham Centre for Contemporary Cultural Studies being created purely for that purpose. Many different aspects, such as gender, style, and function within subcultures, has been studied and conclusions have been drawn. However, we are now moving to a different stage in society that calls for a new realm of subcultures to be studied. An important part of the ethos of being emo now includes the use of social networking systems such as Facebook or MySpace. These mediums allow the subcultural members to display their poetry and song lyrics as well as drawings and photos. In the suicides of emo youths, their social networking pages are often explored in the aftermath to find answers. The deaths of Jodie Gator and Stephanie Gestier left many of their friends and family members questioning why they had run away together to commit suicide. On their MySpace pages, they left a trail of notes that were used to explain the sudden deaths. As Michelle Filipov explains, the deaths were even blamed on the social network MySpace, but these were not the only deaths like this. The murder of Adelaide teenager Carly Ryan was also blamed on her use of MySpace, as well as another website, vampirefreaks.com. The suicide of English teenager Hannah Bond was related back to another social networking site, Bebo. But it is not all negative coverage that is related to emos and their use of online sites. Many positive aspects have come out of the relationship between these youths and their online personas. The internet has been able to give many youths a voice where they previously had none. Facebook and MySpace allow youths to express themselves and connect with other emos. There are many emo-dedicated chat rooms and websites that have been created purely for emos to interact on. Dating sites have also been established that allow for people who want to meet and date other emos to gather in one place. But one question still remains. If these websites are going strong, why has the presence of emos on the streets seemingly diminished? This could be suggested of many subcultures who have once existed in our everyday lives, yet, to borrow Hebdige's term, seem to diffuse into general fashion statements. To understand what has occurred, we need to turn to the internet itself to investigate the possibilities that it holds for maintaining subcultures. Knowing this, many questions have arisen. Have people begun to use the internet as a way of practicing their subcultural identity? Is the internet used as a sole port of identity formation for some who wish to participate in the subculture? If this is the case, the way that online interviews are conducted is an important part of the process. Although leaps and bounds have been made in online communication systems, only particular ones should be used for the purpose of these interviews. While participating in observation within the street still holds an important place in new subcultural studies, it is now important that we turn to the internet to conduct interviews so that those who are practicing their persona online, but not, or in some cases in addition to, the physical world, can be interviewed, which will allow for a deeper understanding of why the subculture continues, even when it seems to have diffused. Using Skype, predominantly a face-to-face form of communication, to conduct the interviews may interfere with this discourse that has been created by the participants of the subculture online. For the purpose of subcultural interviews, I suggest that this process is more detrimental than useful. When beginning the process of determining how the interviews would be conducted, one important factor stood out. There are people who are able to practice the identity of emo online without practicing it in the street. By using Skype, this wall that has been built up may be breached and their emo identity may remain hidden, a self who only comes through in writing and not in aesthetics. Following the use of chat rooms by emos, I propose that a medium such as MSN should be used, where communication is still written so the comfort zone of the interviewee is not removed. This will enable the interviewee to maintain their persona even when being questioned on it. They are able to remain anonymous in their own way. Not only will they remain unseen, but they will also be given the chance to choose their own pseudonym, which will create another interesting point of research. Musical lyrics and poetry are particularly important to emos, and by giving the interviewees the chance to choose their own name, another level of data will be collected. Using MSN allows for interviews to be conducted in real time through an exchange of written text. This process does not come without its own faults. By using a text-based interview rather than a face-to-face method, the interviewee has longer to think about their answers and alter them to sound a particular way. This is something that will be explored through the process of analysing the interviews. More issues can be seen through an application to an ethics committee. A submitted application encountered numerous questions, such as how will you prove the age of your participants? How will you work around any raised cultural sensitivities? These are issues that already pertain to face-to-face interviews. However, there is a concern when a connection is made to the internet. This is understandable, as particularly connected with emos, there have been dangerous situations that have arisen from using the internet to have conversations with other people. However, if we are to ignore this sector of subcultures, we are missing out on a rich source of data. I put forward the argument that if we do not begin to conduct our interviews online as well as participating in observation, there will not be a complete understanding of subcultures today. It is now that we should begin to move forward in our methodologies.